The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
This should be played at high volume, preferably in a residential area.
I did hear that they were coming through necessary media.
Because it's necessary. Necessary media. Media, because it's necessary.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back again. Your host and friend, Michael DeOliveira, ushering in the necessary era every Wednesday here live on Comcast Channel 95. And if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe right here. I'm going to put it right there. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we got another big show coming at you today. Like I tell you every week, the show keeps getting better and every week. So make sure you tell your friends, your family, your grandmother, your neighbors. I've said before, go knock at your neighbors. I had some people reach out to me and say, but Mike, I don't know about my neighbors. No, this is Fall River, okay? Go knock on your neighbor's door. If you need assistance, knock on another neighbor's door to get assistance. But I think you'll be all right, because again, everybody loves Fall River. You can do it. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get into the show pretty quick. I got a guest, a pretty important guest coming to us today. So we're going to... Hey, intern, can you get the door?
What are you doing here?
I'm being a rascal and ringing people's doorbells and running away.
That's not my guest. This is my guest. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Fall River Mayor Jasiel Correia. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good.
That was one of the best intros I've ever seen.
Listen,
Wow.
we got a lot of things going on over here. I try to tell people. I asked him if he was familiar with the show. He said a little bit. I don't think you've caught on to this show since we've gone up a couple notches. First off, I want to say I appreciate you being on here. Like I've told a couple of people, I know you're a busy guy. You're a busy guy now.
Yeah,
things have gone up a little bit on what you got to do.
That's right.
Your responsibility level, huh?
A little bit.
A little bit, just a little bit.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I want to get into some things. There's a lot of stuff going on this week. But again, I mean, not only that, coincidentally, we've just pretty much hit your 100-day mark, right?
Yeah.
When officially was that?
Last Wednesday.
So, I mean, that's that benchmark that pretty much all politicians probably shoot for that have any role in anything, no?
Yeah, I think it's an important benchmark. Everybody from presidents to governors to mayors, really analyze what they've accomplished in the first 100 days. Are they on the same course? Have they met unexpected roadblocks? And I think
you mean like on Rock Street?
Yeah, like that's a perfect example, right? So
that was
you
a
think
no-flag zone award winner, by the way, so you understand that roadblock.
If you think about the mayor's role, I mean that's something that is totally out of my control, right? I mean that's something that you can never plan for a possible brick or rock or whatever could fall from that building, just out of the blue. So that's something you have to just quickly react, and no matter what I'm doing, whatever I'm doing in City Hall, all of a sudden we have to stop and address that concern.
Right.
It's the same thing with snow removal. It's the same thing with anything.
Kind of lucked out this year with snow removal.
Yeah, we lucked out. We did okay.
Well, actually, wait. I'm going to take that back because now, in a matter of 2 minutes, I've already covered. Now I'm about to get into another no-flag zone winner. But again, coincidentally, it wasn't you either way. It was just the fact that we had this random major snow event and
that was crazy.
So I mean, originally I thought you were going to luck out this winter, and then we did have you kind of got hit on both sides of the fence, which
well, I think this year
to decide, because I feel like either way that this is what they did on both sides of the storm.
Yeah.
So,
it was pretty crazy.
As long as you're around 50-50, you're okay.
That's not bad.
No. So I mean, we got a lot to talk about, but I want to clear the elephant in the room.
Sure.
The elephant in the room. Do you realize you're too young?
Stop.
I mean, listen, I go around, right? And I said to people, I'm gonna have the mayor on, what's the questions? And I gotta tell you, there's again, when we get to this 50-50 thing, I don't think this is 50-50. I think it's probably about 30% out there who just stay to that narrative.
Yeah.
So I figured, might as well, what do you got to say to that? Have you wrestled around that. But
Yeah, well, I get older every day.
that's
right?
true. That's
so,
true. You beat it whether you like it or not.
So exactly. So there's nothing I can do about
Eventually,
that.
that's going to run out.
Right. Eventually, that'll be, the pendulum will swing.
Yeah.
Found a few more gray hairs, for the first time.
That happens.
It's a tough job, but I think my energy. I think I said that on the campaign. I think it's showing. I'm putting in as much time as is necessary, and even beyond
Necessary.
that. I know
Shout
I
out.
threw that out there.
Yeah.
You like that, huh? So we're putting in my entire staff, myself especially, whether it's weekends, after hours, whatever it is. We're getting everything that we need to get done. We're getting it done on time. We're getting it done in advance in many cases, and we're working really hard.
Well, to that note, I guess I should bring up too, one of the questions I wanted to get into as far as how you're handling things going on. And there's going to be a lot of sub-subjects that we can get into from this, but again, just to handle how the different opinions out there, what would you say to some of the people who are having issues with the way you're handling it, in the way of they're not necessarily considering that they have enough transparency? Because right now there's a lot that you're doing, and I know you advocated for the transparency factor, but there's a lot going on right now that it seems like you've justified right after it's come out, but initially I feel like there's a lot of people who aren't as happy, but I mean, again, who's always going to be 100% happy, but there's not a lot of people who are as happy as they would have been. What would you say to that whole, he's not being as transparent as he promised, basically?
I think, we have been the most transparent administration in recent time. We've been making decisions, and I think that's been the kind of the confusion. Being decisive and utilizing the role of the mayor to make a decision doesn't mean a lack of transparency. So the mayor has a role that he serves or she serves, and they have the authority to make certain decisions with or without other entities.
Right.
So using that power for the betterment of Fall River, in this case, for example, returning money to taxpayers by eliminating a fee, by privatizing and reducing costs, is a role the mayor has. Including the other individuals, whether that's the council, the public, et cetera, still extremely important, no question. But there are certain decisions that have to be made that the mayor has the right to make.
Right.
But we have been completely transparent with numbers. People want instant gratification. That's not always
Welcome
the case.
to America.
A perfect example is the MOU. The MOU was signed.
I was going to bring that up, so thank you. That's
The
a good
MOU was
transition.
signed yesterday, the final version.
Yeah.
But if you look at the press conference we had and the language that was on a television, right? It was on TV.
Well, can you actually explain what you're talking about? Because there might be people who
Yeah,
are
the
just
memorandum of understanding between.
which was in regards to the
trash
sales,
sanitation.
The sales, though, specifically, right?
No,
Or the
it was
whole thing?
it was the whole thing. So
Okay.
the MOU was the basic language of what the contract would be between Easy Disposal, our new private waste hauler, and the city of Fall River. That language is still being negotiated all the way up until yesterday. So people were questioning, why haven't they given us the MOU?
Well, I heard you mention something about the judge.
The judge is on vacation, for example. Well, he is, but he's still working. We're going
Right.
back and forth via email and calls. But that doesn't matter. That's not even the point. The point is there was negotiations on both sides about the specific language, and the final version was signed yesterday. But people have been calling for it for about a week.
Right.
It simply wasn't ready yet.
Right.
And we told counselors that, we told people that, and people wanted it instantly. That's not always going to be the case. We are fully transparent. We'll give every single document that we possibly can when it's the appropriate time, and we have no problem with that.
Well, I mean, like I said, there's going to be differing opinions out there anyway. And
Sure.
I know you brought up that specific with the deal worked out with Easy Disposal, and to that, again, segueing off of it, one of the criticisms out there has to do with the why a 10-year contract.
Sure.
So that's why I asked to briefly explain. But what we're talking about, people, is the fact that we are now transitioning into a private hauler, a public-private partnership,
Correct.
which is one of the key words to this whole thing. One of the key words to this whole thing. First off, I'm going to address this right now because I got one of my interns telling me we have a caller. Would you open to live call? I'm as probably as iffy as you right now, and I got my intern on this because are you open to take a call?
Sure. I have no problem with
Believe me, if there's an issue, because this, ladies and gentlemen, this is a PG-13 show.
that. Yeah, is it delay time?
No, but he's got to be on that finger, so everybody out there
All right.
understands this. All right. Hey, caller, you there? Caller. I don't know, intern. Jake, I got my two interns, Jake and Kelly. If they start slipping, I've already given them the warning. All right, easy come, easy go. You know what I mean with these people?
You're tough over here,
You
huh?
have to be.
wanna bring you
Rule
to
with an
City Hall.
Iron fist. All right, we got another one. We're gonna check it out. Hey, caller, you there? Caller. Listen, I don't know what's going on, but Jake, you're on a thin line, Jake.
Jake from State Farm.
That's good. Like a good neighbor. All right, listen, I don't know what's going on. I got my intern waving hands. Hey, caller, you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. How you doing?
Great. How are you?
Pretty good. What, you got a question or a comment?
I have a question and possibly a comment.
Shoot.
Can the mayor hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes.
All right. So this is Nikki.
I know. How are you, Nikki?
For everybody out there wondering who might be familiar, this is Nikki Medeiros of so much fame as far as digging into trash, to put that lightly.
She's good. She's good.
Yeah. All right, it's my fault. Go, Nikki.
Okay, so first I want to commend Jaisal on the move today, taking out construction and demolition debris from being accepted at Lewiston Street.
Thank you.
I was happy about. My question actually is, there's a little confusion. Will there be fines issued for non-compliance prior to July 1st, 2016?
I know what she's getting at. I wanted to try to bring this up. So, Nikki, can I take it from there, or? Like, just I want to clarify. So what she's talking about, and I didn't know how to touch on it, so I'm actually glad Nikki did call into that, because that gives her the excuse to wave that hammer. But I think what I wanted to transition that into is kind of the direct question of, I know when you were on the council, there was a lot of comments as far as the actual legality of where pay-as-you-throw stood. Has anything changed since you now becoming mayor with it, or has there, what information maybe could you be privy to, or has there nothing changed and really this is just a new approach to it? What can you speak to that? Because what she's getting at is any changes that are going to take place now as far as collecting fines and everything, if the legality of pay-as-you-throw was questioned before, none of this could, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think any of this could actually take place, like actual fine collection or anything like that could actually be legal technically until the FY17 budget kicks in, which is July 1st.
That's exactly where I'm going.
I know. I just figured I'd clarify for the people.
Why do you think that it would be legal in 2017, FY17, and not currently?
That's not on me.
Because I believe you're going to make the changes necessary
Bang.
in FY17. I actually have faith that that'll happen, but I'm still concerned as to happening.
Which changes?
Prior to that.
Which changes, Nikki? What changes in FY17 that wouldn't exist in 16 for the fines?
Well, right now we still have the sanitation enterprise fund.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, all right. Well, so this is, all right, you kind of got me in a weird position here because I just left, I had 4 meetings today with counselors. I am still advocating for the elimination, as everybody knows, of the sanitation enterprise account. Now, when you zoom in, I can see that I had shaved my mustache.
It's okay, it's all right.
So
it gives you less of that. He's just a kid, though.
Yeah,
You're good. You're good.
But anyway, so the enterprise account, I've advocated, Nikki, you know this, everybody knows this.
I do.
I've advocated for this elimination. The documents that we provided today to the Herald News, as well as the counselors that we briefed, and the WSAR interview that I did today, continue to show that that enterprise account has never been fully funded, has been subsidized with taxpayer dollars who may or may not use the service. That totals $33.9 million since 2009 of subsidies. This is, it's ridiculous. This is just a fraudulent account. So your question is very interesting because we have a deadline of when we really need to begin begin enforcement, true enforcement. We set that deadline as May 9th is when people will begin to receive their first infraction, which will be a letter saying, look, this is your first infraction, please comply with the program. That letter will also go to the homeowner. The owner of the property, who also may be the generator of trash. You may or may not know, you probably know this, everybody knows this, but those who may not know this looking at the TV, watching what's going on, that is an ordinance right now. I sent down a request, I told the council I'd like the enterprise account eliminated. They have not moved on that. So that could happen. There's this ordinance meeting tonight. It's not on the agenda. Why? We need that on the agenda. We need the elimination of the sanitation enterprise account. Regardless, I'm proceeding with my enforcement plan. So I get what you're saying, Nikki, and I've done everything I can to ask the council to eliminate this enterprise account that has been proven time and time again to never be fully sustained, never be fully funded. And now with the new information of the bonds of all these vehicles that never were put in to the enterprise account, it only exaggerates the problem. So
Right.
I've asked for that enterprise account to be eliminated. I've done my part. I know what you're saying, but we have an enforcement schedule that we are going to stick to, and I'm hoping the council by that time eliminates the fund.
So ultimately, fines will be issued prior
Correct.
to the beginning of the new fiscal year?
Correct.
Okay. So actually, if I could ask another quick question.
Sure.
I was curious as to why Waste Zero would have to follow our sanitation truck to compile a list of those who are non-compliant if for the last year and a half, almost 2 years, our sanitation employees have been checking the cart for compliance. Wouldn't
Okay.
they already know who's complying and who's not?
Well, there's two. Great question, Nikki. So two things to that. The first is that our sanitation workers have not been following all the, have not been doing the fine issuing and checking on compliance. We had that grant with the compliance officers, and although it was presented, I think, at that time, that eventually our sanitation workers would be the ones doing the compliance measures, that never happened. So I'm going to dispel that right now.
So they're not even checking the cart?
They are not checking the carts, no. And if they are, they're doing it, casually when they choose, which is obviously not good. That's not what we're looking to do.
Hey, Nikki, you got anything else on that?
Well, just secondly on that, the second thought there is the fact that Waste Zero is going to be helping us was just a manpower thing that we said, well, hey, if you're going to offer it, we're going to take it, right? We're going to have every single route being followed all at the same time, which is going to give us a lot more data collection. But you're absolutely right. We do know, and we have a little bit of record keeping that shows us who are kind of repeat offenders, who are consistent. But keep in mind, there may be 1 week where somebody is in compliance, and the very next week they're not. So having that additional manpower for free from Waste Zero, I wasn't going to decline it. I think it was
Right.
a good thing.
All right, Nikki.
I will let you go there. I
All right.
look forward to getting my fine.
All right, thanks, Paul and Nikki. All right, intern, what are we doing here? All right, I'm gonna take one more call, but I gotta move this on. Hey, call, are you there?
Yeah, Mike.
Hey,
How you doing?
what's going on? Good, you?
Good. I have just one question for Mayor.
Go ahead, shoot.
The statements first. I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
I really do. This thing about age, I'm an old lady, and I'm telling you, you're doing a good job. People are jealous because you are running the city at this point as a business. You're looking out for the taxpayers. You're not looking out to line people's pockets. Thank you very much for that. My question to you is, how can you have a man, Ken Pacheco, who has always lied to you, even when you're on the council, about compliance, outnumbers, and now it's come out that he knew all about the windows. How can he still be hired to be a senator?
Hey, can I take it from there? Because I was actually gonna try to get into that a little bit.
Yes, you can, Michael. Thank you.
All right, thank you for the call. All right, I guess, reposition that question to say like this. I know, again, the difference I'd like to hear, or what's your opinion on difference between you going from council to mayor, in the aspect that I've had so many conversations with people about this, where prior to these people being a part of your administration and your team, there was constantly conflict as far as what numbers are these people giving the council. And there's still, my biggest grievance with the council still to this day is the wishy-washiness of their aggravation that they put out there as far as what information they're getting from administrations, past and now. You're still getting it. Your administration is now getting it as far as what information they get. But the same people who are giving the information, they're at the same time they're giving these people like applause and bending over backwards. So it's like on one hand it's like, oh, we never get the answers we want. The other hand, these people are great. What do you say to that, to the average person like me watching this at home and like that caller who's frustrated at the fact that these people have been up there for so long giving either no information or false information, and all of a sudden we're supposed to just take what they say now?
Oh, I have a lot to say about that. I think number one, when you're talking about the numbers, right, the financial piece, one of the first actions we took was getting rid of our CFO, John Nunes. And I think you see Mary Zahadi filling that role in really a professional and expert way, and she's been an awesome addition to the team. So I think that over time, you're going to see the administration look very different than what it looks like today. And we proved that through some of the actions we took. But you can't go into office and eliminate everything, right? Because there are people that know, history and where bodies are buried and different elements.
I think I know where you're going with this, but I'd rather have you.
But every time you've interviewed me, I've always told you.
I've told people this because they were like, "Oh, make sure you're tough on it." I was like, "Listen, every time I've ever had."
I'll always tell you the direct
which
answer.
I appreciate.
So that's one case, and I still believe the move we made with Ken Pacheco is going to yield fruits. He is a plumber by trade. He is now going into buildings division. I've said it to him. I've said it publicly. I've said it on the radio. I don't think he was managing DCM properly. It was a very large department with a lot of confusion. Now, on the numbers, that's something that I've really looked at because as a counselor, I wanted to know. When we were being told 80% compliance, 92% compliance, et cetera, there was a directive from, you have to, like now I'm in the role, so I kind of see what's going on with this. The mayor tells, before every council meeting essentially, really directs those individuals on the direction that they want to take the council meeting at. I know for a fact that mayors, both Mayor Flanagan and possibly Mayor Sutter, I think definitely both of them, actually I don't even think, possibly, I think both definitely explained that we want to make those numbers look as good as possible. Because not only does the budget hinge on those numbers meeting what they need to produce, you also have a program that you're trying to keep people engaged with in compliance numbers high.
While you're going along with that, can I throw in these two questions that actually will play
off? One second, though. I just want to finish this one point. So, in this case, when we were looking into a barrel in the past, and not under my administration, one bag, two purple bags, one yellow bag, one white bag would be partial compliance. But that was going in as a complying resident. The way my administration got to the real number, and the real number is 60% compliance, we were transparent about that, is we didn't go, we didn't go based on our math and our numbers in-house, because that was not fooled around with. We went direct to Waste Zero's numbers. We went direct to the transfer station and said, the total aggregate, every bag that's coming to you, how many of them by percentage are purple bags and how many are all other kinds of bags? And that's how we got the 60%.
Well, like I said, to tie this in with what you're just talking about, I think you could expand on with me mentioning these two questions. One, how is zero-based budgeting showcased what has zero-based budgeting showcased of previous issues the most? Because I know that's how you've gone into this. Which once I heard about this, for everybody out there who might not understand, I'd like you to clarify that quick when you actually get into this. But then the other issue is. You mentioned today, I heard you talk about there's serious issues with how bonds were packaged in the past.
Absolutely.
And so can you elaborate on that? Because you seemed like on another radio show, or on a radio show today, you were at the end of the show and you started to, it seemed like you were getting very intense into that conversation. So I mean, if you could, like I said, expand
and I brought some of it today.
So
there's two things going on. Number one, really important is the fact that zero-based budgeting is basically a process where every department, whether it's police, fire, the mayor's office, the treasurer's office, when they present a budget, when they build their budget, instead of going from last year, and let's say last year it cost $100,000 to run the department and they just build it from $100,000, they go back to zero and they have to justify every position, every person's position, and every line item in their department. So that's yielded in some cases, very small savings, $10,000, $5,000 here and there, but in some cases, in the largest case, it yielded $192,000 savings in one department. $192,000 savings in just one department we were able to save. So the combined savings, I don't have a tally for you tonight. I think it's going to be around $500,000 just from zero base, and that's just all from in City Hall and police and fire. School department, I haven't been able to convince them to do zero base. I wish they would, and maybe that's something we can look at in the future. But the bonding issue is really, really important. So we knew when we were privatizing that yes, we still owed money on these bonds. But if you look at water and sewer, when they buy a new pipe, piping for underground piping, when they buy a wastewater treatment vehicle, all that cost goes into the enterprise budget as a debt service for water and sewer. And that's when water sewer rates go up. It's to pay that debt service, to pay salaries, to pay everything associated with that cost. You probably remember when I was a counselor, I constantly said sanitation has phantom costs. Those phantom costs are, for example, on a small scale, a percentage of Ken Pacheco's salary should have been in the sanitation enterprise account, because he does some sanitation work. That's a small one. On this case, what we expose today is that all the debt service associated with every truck, every barrel, etc., all should have been in the enterprise account. That's what you're supposed to do,
Right.
just like they do in water and sewer. So not only has this been subsidized to $34 million, almost $34 million since 2009, that doesn't include the debt service payments, which would just expand the savings we're going to have from privatization. Plus, we're not going to have to buy new vehicles ever again in that department for sanitation collection.
Right.
So what we exposed today, and this is a big problem, and it's much more complex than just a 5-minute conversation, but the gist is this. Debt was rolled into one large payment twice. One time in 2009 that only went long-term 3 years later in 2012. So no payments towards principal were made from 2009 to 2012. This happened a second time, which makes me believe that it was a conscious decision. It was a 2011 bond for $4.3 million. That didn't go long-term until Sam Sutter came into office in 2015, 3 years later. So no payments towards principal were made on either of those bonds during that 3-year period. Now, the reason that probably was done deliberately was to not pay principal and interest payments in the operating budget, to reduce your operating budget number. So again, some complexities here, but when you look at this, the only way we would have discovered this is if we did our deeper dive. This on the surface was hidden. It was hidden from the public, it was hidden from administrations, it was even hidden from our independent auditor.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is what would you think makes the difference as far as you're the one, and when you jump in here, you're doing this digging as compared to anything prior to you? Meaning, like you're saying, even with the independent auditor, why was this type of assessment not given at that time?
This wasn't because nobody was concerned with what we owed left on those trucks until we decided we're going to sell the trucks. Now, the reason you wouldn't have noticed this is because, I'll give you an example. Now, this is why this raised a massive red flag, and this is a huge accounting error. So in 2011, 13 Packers, 1 front loader was bonded for. Now, there was also $209,000 for police cruisers. This all went long-term as one giant bond, which shouldn't have happened. The sanitation equipment should have been separated out into the enterprise account, and that debt should have been paid separately from general fund debt. But what happened here is everything, police cruisers, Packers, everything was rolled into long-term for 15 years. So we're paying, and you've heard the council, you heard everybody say this, police cars only last 3 years.
Right.
Packers, in this case, Packers, the 13 Packers, the useful life is 5 to 7 years. We're going to be paying for these things for 15 years. Huge accounting error. And you know what happens. If you extend those debt payments, what do? You reduce your payment every single year. Right? So you're reducing your payment in the short term, but you're going to be paying more over the long term. Huge accounting error that we really have a problem with.
Well, I mean, a lot of people should. That's why I wanted you to clarify it, because I don't think a lot of people understand fully, especially now with your administration coming in. You know, it becomes a new issue again of people putting confidence in somebody. And like you said earlier, there's a lot of times, again, welcome to America, God bless America, and God bless Fall River. The people want immediate satisfaction. So I mean, that is what it is. It's if you take the opportunity to explain it to people, because there's a lot of things, and I got about 2.5 minutes left, so I got to get this thing rolling quick. But I mean, there's a lot of issues that people are going to have where they just want information fast. I guess the only thing I could say is if you do this in like a minute, what would you say about the whole situation going on right now with the school transportation issue? I know people want to know about that. What's the actuality to this $500,000 that's owed? Is it something that, because I think there was miscommunication on the council floor, or people were just confused about the way the information was juggled. Is it something that we're going to have to be responsible for? Is it something that they're going to have to find in their budget? How's this play out?
That's up to the council. The council can either make a transfer or they can tell them to find the money in their budget.
On the school committee, what do you have any information to be able to give from that or no?
I don't have any information on that at this time.
Well, that's about as much as I can go with that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, again, I'm getting to the end of the show. We're going to go into the fan favorite No Flex Zone Award of the Week. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, you are in the No Flex Zone. The No Flex Zone is a zone where you do not belong flexing. And by flexing, I mean doing anything you're not supposed to be doing in a place you're not supposed to be doing it. And again, I got to wrap this up quick. But this week's goes real quick. Today we had on the Ray Mitchell show. Ray Mitchell just pretty much admitted that he doesn't listen to anybody at Citizens Input. Someone called in about information that Dan Robillard gave. he's like, well, that's when I usually am getting ready at that time. I'll get my paperwork ready, so I'm not even listening. That literally came out of his mouth. I don't understand why. But ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be the show. I want to thank Mayor Jasiel Correia for coming on. I appreciate it very much. We do what we can in this half-hour program. Again, we went from this much time to this much time, but I appreciate it. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I hope I did whatever I could for people out there.
It's good. Covered a lot.
It's a quick show.